All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Mind of a Genius. And today I have with me here the one and only Hidalgo County Democratic Party Chair, Richard Gonzalez. Super excited to have you on here, Richard. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Appreciate it, Sam. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've known of what you've been doing for over the past couple of years. Never had a chance to really have a conversation with you until Social Fest.
Yeah. A great event, by the way.
Thank
and
you.
you all did one heck of a job. It was
you.
I had never seen the Mission Event Center that packed, and I've been to tons of events there. But you guys, wow, outdid yourself. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, and I appreciate you guys' support. Edinburgh EDC supported us well.
Yeah.
So definitely super excited for that, and excited for this year as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
But today it's not about me. It's all about you, man.
All right,
It's
all
all
right.
about you. You've been doing some incredible work in the county, specifically Hidalgo County and the Rio Grande Valley overall. And I kind of want to talk about that.
Okay.
But to be able to talk about that, I want to talk about who you are, because I feel like I want to know who Richard Gonzalez is and how you got to this point.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit.
To make a very, very long story short, I'll just tell you we go back to, I guess, 2022, right? When I first ran for the office. It was an empty seat. The previous chair had vacated to run for something different. And so there was just kind of this, what I felt was a void within the party. And I'll be honest, I was never really that involved before. And it wasn't that I didn't want to, it's that I like a lot of other people, I didn't know how to, right? And so I just felt at that time, look, the world is changing, the climate is changing. I wanted to be a part of something bigger, right? And I had ideas about what I wanted to do, and I wanted to modernize the party. I wanted to grow the party. I wanted to try to see if I could put this party on the map, right?
Yeah.
And I know that the party was run a very specific way for so long. I wanted to change that. I own a business, I have a law firm, so I approach everything with a business mentality, right? Because I just feel that's the most efficient way to get things done.
Yep.
And so I try to implement all of that into the party. And, when you look at where it was in 2022 and where you look at it now and, getting into 2026, it's a completely unrecognizable party for the better.
Yep.
So, we were able to accomplish a lot of what I wanted to do, back then. And I still feel that, leadership and experience is going to matter. Right now, look at the current state of the country and look at what's happening right here in our own backyard. We need people that are not afraid to get up to the front lines and shine a spotlight on that and make sure that we do what we can to not only protect, the people of this county, but to hold those accountable, that are perpetrating a lot of this stuff. And I feel that as the chair of the party, it's incumbent upon me to lead that charge and hope that others follow along as well.
Yeah. And I have to say it's been impressive, the energy that has been it's rising. People are super excited. And I have to say I am seeing a lot of young people get involved in the local politics, which I am personally very passionate about, is how do we get young people involved?
Yeah.
How do we get young people really at the forefront of it?
Yeah.
So is that something you care about?
Yeah, well, absolutely. So if you ask any of the young Dems that we have now, we've given them a platform to truly shine. There had never been a young Democrat apparatus prior to me coming on board. And for when I started, I said, this is a demographic that is hungry for this type of environment, but number two, have never been given an opportunity to show what they can do. And so it was my number one priority to say, we're gonna give them a platform to get this done. So myself, along with my executive director, we basically worked to get the UTRGV Young Democrats, Hidalgo County Young Democrats, a newly formed STC College Democrats, and through that, they've been able to build an awesome coalition that continues to grow, get bigger. A lot of them, actually all of them, are super involved in campaigns. A lot of them get hired now, as staffers, which I think is amazing too. And they've really made a name for themselves as a powerful force in local politics. And I only see that getting bigger and better. And there's so much talent with them, And so I'm glad that I could have been a part of creating that. And that will definitely sustain itself, long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
But they are the future. I mean, they really, really are.
So you're running for re-election.
Re-election,
right
yes.
What are some of the things you're excited about coming in the next couple years that you want to implement as Hidalgo County Chair, Democratic Chair?
Well, the number one thing I think I'm most excited about is rebuilding the South Texas Blue Wall, right? And the only way we do that is we have to win every congressional seat down here. As everybody I'm sure knows, we have a Republican Congresswoman in CD15. And so that has kind of been our biggest focus, was to do all we can to make sure that we win that seat back and do what we can to keep the other 2 seats and reestablish South Texas as a strong Democratic area.
Yeah.
There's been a lot, I mean, you've heard it. There's been so much narrative that South Texas is turning red, it's all Republican. That's BS. It is BS. It's not true. It only feeds into that Republican narrative that they're taking over all these different areas.
Yeah.
But when you really look at the numbers, and the numbers do not lie, Hidalgo County, but for Trump, last year, still voted Democrat top to bottom, and there was still a wide margin of victory. And so I think Trump is just your anomaly candidate. But other than him, I mean, Greg Abbott doesn't win down here. Yeah. I can tell you right now, J.D. Vance is not going to win down here. So I think that, people need to see that it is still Democratic.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to win this seat back.
Yeah.
I'm excited to continue to expand the party.
Yeah.
I'm excited to basically implement more sustaining structure into it as well. Yeah. So like I said, I want whoever takes over after me to walk into a really good situation with an apparatus that is functioning on the highest of gears.
So then my curiosity lies within that specific seat, the 15th district,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's where I live.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm curious to know, why do you think that shift happened, where we ended up with a Republican Congresswoman?
One word and one word only: gerrymandering. That's what it was. It wasn't that Hidalgo County was changing its values. It wasn't that anything was happening. It was that the Republicans went and cheated their way to this seat. They chopped it up and they turned it into basically a Frankenstein district, that then leaned more favorably towards Republicans. And that's the only reason why this seat flipped. I mean, if you look prior to, no Republican had ever won CD15, and it was not even close. I mean, Republicans ran, but it was never a big issue. Once they came in and gerrymandered it, that's what changed. So you have those northern counties that are very red, and it just changed the complexion, And so it's going to be interesting for whoever our Democratic nominee is now to see what type of plan they implement to win over the voters up north.
Yeah. And so right now, I know that there is there's a Texas 15 race happening, right? There's a primary happening.
Yes.
With Bobby and
Dr.
Cuellar, right? Who, obviously whoever wins goes against Monica.
Right.
Has there been any data that you guys have run to see kind of where the area is leaning toward? And any polling, anything like that people should be looking forward to?
No, we haven't. I mean, what we've done is, especially, it's always been the party's objective to always be neutral in the primaries, right? And so what we usually do is we just allow the people to just decide what they want to do. We don't want to give one side an advantage by saying, our own internal polls are showing X, Y, or Z. Yeah. We don't want to do that, right? So we just allow the candidates, we give them all platforms, to be heard, to be seen, to tell the people their visions, and let the voters decide. I mean, and it's cool because now we put Hidalgo County on the map, not only throughout the state of Texas, but nationally as well. A lot of people don't know, but a couple of months back, we had the DCCC, out of DC, come down for the first time hosting a workshop, trying to get people involved. There was an event with myself and our state party chairman. Our state party chair has been down here multiple times. We've hosted, candidate James Talarico.
Yes.
He'll be down here again in about 2 weeks. We just hosted Congresswoman Crockett. And so people are finally looking at Hidalgo County saying, I need to go down there and win those voters.
Yeah. And I think this is a very unique area, right? It's a super unique area that my concern has always been that the lack of attention, right? The national politics is there, but are people actually paying attention to the region and delivering for the people?
Right.
And I think right now, for example, we have a Republican congresswoman who, in my opinion, is not delivering for the people, but delivering for her party.
100%.
So how do we get candidates focused on delivering for the people and not necessarily the party? Because I think that's the way we win back.
I think, it's so to 2 points on that. So number one, you're 100% correct in saying that our current congresswoman has not done anything for us down here. And that's just not my opinion. That's not your opinion. It's if you look at her voting record, which is set in stone, you will see that she has been with President Trump every single time. She's been there when it was time to cut, healthcare. She's been there when it was time to cut SNAP benefits. She was there during the government shutdown. She has yet to speak out and condemn ICE and everything that they're doing here in our own backyard, in her district. She has yet to come out and say anything about that. So if you look at it and just ask yourself a simple question, is that good for us down here? A simple answer is no, it's not. I mean, that's a self-serving, vote. That's a self-serving individual that's doing only what the administration tells her to do. So to answer your question it all depends on the candidate, right? So you have 2 candidates right now that are vying, to take her on in November. But it's going to come down to whose message is better. Who do the people believe understands the true nature of what South Texas is? And like you said, it's a very unique region, right? So when people come in from outside and they come here for the first time and they're like, man, this is something different. I was like, yeah,
right.
You can't explain it, right? You can kind of give them a roadmap, but you have to be here to experience the culture, the attitude, the political leanings. It's very, very different than anywhere else in this country.
Right.
And I still stand firm by saying that, if we position ourselves correctly, Hidalgo County then becomes the gatekeeper of state and national politics.
Right.
Our proximity to the border, the amount of people we have down here, commerce, we have a lot of good things to offer.
Right.
And I just think that as a party, we've done a lot to spotlight that.
Yeah.
And not just myself, but like my team, reaching out to, networks throughout the state, inviting them to come down here, getting them down here, and letting them see it for themselves. And then that leads to something else, and that leads to something else. So we have really made it a priority to show people, hey, this is South Texas. We are South Texas Democrats. We're different than everybody. Take us seriously, because that was the problem before.
Yeah. So, and I want to kind of dive into my own kind of thoughts, right? My own political leanings, right? One of the major things I am very concerned about is the messaging, right? I strongly believe that my values personally align with the Democratic Party because there is a lot of things as a believer, as a Christian, right? The Bible tells us certain things.
Sure.
Love your neighbor as yourself, and basically just go out there and preach the gospel. That's what the Bible tells us to do specifically, right? Loving your neighbor also involves doing things to them that will not cause them harm or cause them, to lose faith in anything that they do, right?
Sure.
James Tallarico right now is sending that message and really, really sharing that message very, very well. And my concern is, why is it that the Democratic Party is not able to put out messaging like he does in a way that can bring people from both aisles to support the cause? Because, again, the Republicans have made it seem that their cause aligns better with the Christian values, which it doesn't.
Yeah.
So, is there anything being done as far as on the party aspects, maybe locally, whatsoever, to really, really share that message and let people understand that their values align closely better?
That's a great question, and it's answered with a couple of different things. So number one, messaging has always been the Democratic Party's problem. Let's go back to 2024 when Trump won. You gotta look at what the messaging difference was, right? The Republicans were talking about cost of groceries, cost of eggs, inflation, gas prices. They hit on your pocketbook issues. Then you go to the Democrats, and what were they talking about? Well, they got off topic from pocketbook to more social issues.
Social issues.
And they were trying, and we as a party as a whole, were trying to tell people Trump is a threat to our democracy. We need to fight this thing. We are better than that. The election happens, we lose. It kind of told people, no, we're not better than that, right? Like this is who we are as a country. And so looking back, and hindsight's always going to be 2020, we should have fought fire with fire. And the problem is that our party has always tried to take the high road. We've always tried to play by the rules. And I've been a huge proponent of saying those days are over.
Yeah.
If they're going to be dirty, we got to be dirty. If they're going to talk about economics, we got to talk about economics.
Yes.
And we need to put a bright, clear distinction between what they have done and what we have done and what we want to do. Yeah. Offer real solutions. Because everybody always says, man, politicians are just talking in theory and, I want to do this. But are you giving us a game plan? Are you telling us this is what I want to do and this is how I plan to accomplish it? This is how I'm going to make your life easier.
Yes.
And I feel that as a party, we've gotten away from that. And everyone has a different message. And you normally see the message crafted from the highest levels, right? So you see presidential message, that usually takes over everything. Right now you're seeing, Rep. Talarico talking about faith, which I think is very, very important. Mm-hmm. But that's his campaign. That's what he's campaigning on.
Right.
For the party to take that in, it would basically need buy-in across the board from all Democrats everywhere saying that's an important issue. I think we should do that. Because if not, we just run into what we're doing right now, which is Talarico's talking about this, Jasmine Crockett's talking about this, you got so-and-so talking about this, the national media's talking about that. And it's like, well, where do we go?
No alignment.
No alignment, right? The Republicans, for as insane as that party is, I got to give them credit. Their message is always unified.
Right.
No matter how insane it may be, they always fall in line. Whereas Democrats, everybody's kind of fighting for this message, right? And I think that's been our fatal flaw, is that we need to just come up with a message that you said takes pieces of economics, of faith, of some more liberal issues, environmental, women's right to choose, immigration, LGBTQ rights, and we blend it all into something that's like, guys, look, we understand that we are under a massive umbrella. But if we're going to combat what's happening, where we're literally one election away from losing this country completely, they need to wake up.
Yeah.
People just need to say, okay, you know what? I get it. The cause is bigger than my own personal feelings. And I think that until we get there, the party is going to be struggling to unify that message.
Is it possible for the Hidalgo County Democratic Party to have different messaging from the actual Democratic Party?
100%. The problem lies, so I'll give you an example. We can be here and I can say, guys, we're going to talk about, your life has not gotten better. Things have not gotten cheaper.
Yep.
Families are being torn apart. We can talk about all these things, but we don't know what the national message is going to be, right? So we can push it here, but where are people getting their news from? Facebook,
right?
Online, podcasts, right? And so sometimes, no matter how strong our local message is, it gets drowned out by the national media. Yeah. And so people kind of get back into that, what is the message thing? Because I'm a firm believer, we hit them where it hurts. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you draw that line in the sand and you show them this is what they have done, this is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to accomplish it. And I can do that all day.
Right.
But if the other part, if the national and statewide stuff, if they're not following suit, then you get a lot of information overlap.
Yeah. So then it comes down to, obviously, after this primary, your work begins.
Yeah.
You're still working, but you get
it really starts. Yes.
It really starts, right? And so then you almost have to move outside the mentality of of just the Democrat aspect, right? I'm seeing a lot of locally, I'm seeing a lot of folks say, well, why is this person, cozying up to Republicans? Why is this person showing up in Republican spaces? Is there a plan to say, hey, I know we're Democrats, but you cannot only win with, is that possible to only win with Democrat support? Or is there a position of we have to win and we have to talk to everybody who is willing to listen to the message?
Great question. So I think that with the current political climate, everybody wants it to be an us versus them. And I totally understand that. But there are certain positions where you're going to have to go and you're going to have to find those Republicans that are disillusioned with their party, right? Or they just feel that, hey, you know what? I thought that I aligned with Trump, maybe not so much anymore. You know, let me hear what you as a Democrat have to say, you know, and maybe we can find some common ground.
Yep.
There still are some Republicans like that out there. And so I am of the opinion that you go get votes wherever you get them from, because the name of the game is to win, right? I mean, whether you get 100% Democrat vote or you get 90% Democrat, 10% Republican, it does not matter. You win.
Yes.
And when you win, then you can be in a position to affect real change.
Exactly.
And so I don't fault candidates for going out and reaching across the lines. I mean, you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I'll tell you, if I was in their position, I'd be doing the same thing.
Right.
Because it's just, you have to be willing to take support from wherever you can. And like I said, there are people on the Republican Party that just, this is not what they signed up for.
Yeah.
And if they realize the error of their ways
Yes.
and are willing to come back,
Yep.
you know, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of Democrats were shifting out too, and now they may want to shift back in, and they are welcome back in, because in the end, I mean, you know, we have to do what we can to take this country back.
Yeah.
And we need to bring in everybody and anybody who's willing to stay on that course. And you know, I don't have a problem with that.
And you know, bringing back to normal is common decency, right? You know, things happening with people getting shot in the streets by ICE agents, which, yes, you might be doing your job, but do your job in a professional way. Get trained to do your job well, right? And I think a lot of people who might be on the other aisle actually agree with that, right? There's certain things that human decency tells us you shouldn't be doing, right? And I think a little bit of a highlight on some of those issues will be key. But I want to come back to you, right? You personally in the race that you're running.
Sure.
What excites you about, you know, just you know, running an election? I know it's not easy running a campaign. You have an amazing team behind you. Like,
Yes.
What excites you about it?
You know, I think you know, this is the third time that I'm running for this position, and it is my last time. You know, this will be my last term.
Really?
Yes, God willing, I am victorious in March. This will be my last term, and so I want to make sure that, you know, I do all I can. But I think it's what really motivates me is to look at all the good work that we've done, right? And I think about where we started, where we're at, and the vision of where we're going, and that's exciting, you know. And I think it's really, you know, gets us going when you show up to an event and it's packed and you see kind of these Democrats uniting, and you're a part of this movement that's taking place, you know, nationally, right? Where people are starting to not be afraid to just get up, be loud, be heard, fight for what's right. You know, I mean, I have two daughters. When they get older and we look back at this period of history, I want to be able to look them in the face and say, hey, like, your dad was there literally in the front lines, fighting for you, for us, for this county, for this state, for this country. I was there, you know, because you look back and you think about the people who were in, you know, think about the MLK days, you know, people that were in the marches, or Cesar Chavez, you know, the farm workers. All those people are, you know, that are still around, and you talk to them about the stories that they're like, yeah, I was marching and I was picketing and I did this and I did that. I want to be able to think about when I'm old,
Yes.
and I see my children and my grandchildren and say, hey, I was there, man. Like, I was out there doing this work, and hopefully by that time, you know, our country has healed from this disastrous mess.
Hopefully.
But I think to me, it's a legacy thing. You know, it's leaving a legacy personally, but it's also leaving a legacy within this party, and hoping that I do enough good to allow this party to continue to grow and to build and to continue to adapt to the changing political climates, and to continue to make Hidalgo County, you know, a beacon of hope down here in South Texas.
Yeah, and you know, I think I see the excitement. You know, and I have to mention again, I do see the excitement. I've been to a lot of these events, and I see people super hyped. And I think the reason is because they are tired. They're sick and tired of everything happening. I come from Ghana, which is a developing country, right?
Sure.
And I'll tell you this, if what was happening here of, militarized police in the streets, hunting people down, asking them to show them their papers, if that was happening in our country, I mean, the U.S. will be one of the first to go in there and shut things down.
Yeah.
Right. And so it just, as someone who is an immigrant, right, in here, it really baffles me that we are just quiet and silent about these things happening here. And I just wish other people would travel to other countries that have some of these restrictions to see if they would want to live there. Right. I don't understand why people are silent.
It's hard to think, and I can only think of there's a few things that come to mind. Number one is maybe fear, right? Fear to put yourself on the radar of these things and in fear of like a retaliation of sorts. Yeah. The other thing is just apathy. You're just like, I don't want to get involved. I'm just going to live my life. I don't have time for this kind of stuff.
Yes.
If it's not affecting me, I don't really care. But what people don't understand is that we've gotten real comfortable as Americans over the course of history because we knew that we are the greatest country in the world. We enjoy all of these freedoms. We had always been the saviors to other areas when they were facing, this type of problem. We'd go in there, like you just said, and we'd go and save the day.
Yeah.
Well, now we kind of find ourselves on the opposite end of things, right? To where we're the bad guys for the first time in history. And as Americans and as a minority, it kind of puts us in a weird position to where it's like, well, hold on, I don't know how to feel right now. It's a lot of cognitive dissonance, right? Like it's like, man, I'm proud to be an American, but damn, I don't like the way this country is operating, and I feel bad for what's happening, and it conflicts people a lot, But like I said, you need to stand up and fight.
Yes.
Because what this administration is counting on is you to just
stay quiet.
Stay quiet.
Yes.
Do what you're told. Let this happen, and just fall into what we're building for you. And we can't do that.
Yes.
Because the country literally depends on us.
Yes.
Us not staying quiet, us showing up, us fighting, us organizing and mobilizing.
Yeah.
Because that is the only way to fight this.
Yeah.
There is no other way.
Yeah. And I'll be very straightforward here and honest, about this, right? I saw recently that they just banned about 70 plus countries from, I believe it was immigrant visas into the US. And my country, Ghana, happens to be one of them.
Wow.
Right? And so, I look at some of these things and I look at some of the things that they say on TV, Stephen Miller and all of them, and it's 100% ethnic cleansing. Oh. So for example, South Africa was banned from immigrating, but the white people in South Africa were allowed to come to the US through a system or something that they created, right? And so for me, it's always been that one thing of what they want to see in the US, in this country. But I think what makes this country great is the different people in it, right? That someone can come from another country into this country, experience the American dream, and do something extraordinary.
If you just look back on history itself, we took pride in being that country that everybody else wanted to come to.
Yep.
Because we could offer them the opportunity, hope for a better life, right? And we took pride in knowing that the diversity of this country is what made this country great. It is what makes this country great. But now you have, like you said, a racial cleansing, right? Thinking that if this country is all white and everything is gonna be great.
Right.
It's impossible
right.
to get rid of, it's impossible to get rid of every colored person in this country.
Right.
But to think that this country will be better to rid itself of every minority, it's stupid.
That would be funny.
And we're
Zero
dealing,
spice.
and we're dealing. Yeah, you get no flavor in here, man. It would be boring.
Yes.
It would be so boring. And I just think that it's really sad to think that we've allowed ourselves as a country to now be the place that nobody wants to come to.
Yep.
That's sad.
Yes.
I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with being the bad guy.
Yes.
I'm not okay with letting the world think that this is who Americans are. Yeah. Because there's a segment of America that feels that way, but there's a lot of us that don't feel that way.
Right.
And so it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it just sucks that we're in this situation.
Well, hopefully things get better.
I can only hope.
One of the major things that a lot of young people feel is that your vote does not count. And I believe that's one of the major reasons why young people don't go out to vote, right? And personally, that's something that, you know, I'm very, very passionate about. I'm sure Allison will tell you. I used to, in class, encourage them to go vote, you know, to exercise their right no matter what side they go with, just because it really, really makes a difference, right? So as the Hidalgo County Democratic Chair, what message would you give to young people to let them know that their vote counts?
Very simple. Young Democrats, ask yourself these questions. Do I want a high-paying job? You got to go vote. Do I want affordable health care? You got to go vote. Do you want your cost of living to go down? You got to go vote. Do I want to be comfortable knowing I can walk the streets without being racially profiled, kidnapped, and sent to unknown parts of the world? You got to go vote. Do I want to know that I can provide for my family as you get older and still live a comfortable life? You got to go vote. Do I care about my student loan debt? I got to go vote. All of those issues that affect young adults are not issues that just magically appear and disappear. You got to go vote for that stuff. So if you think your vote does not count, it absolutely does, because you are having a say in where your life goes moving forward. It feels like, okay, so I'm 42.
Dang.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'll age myself, but I feel like, I think back to when I was in college,
You're
right?
very young, man.
I appreciate that. But I think back to when I was like, let's just say 20, 22, right?
Yeah.
I didn't really care about stuff too much, right? And you always talk to like older people and they're like, oh, wait till you're my age and you're gonna start, and I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, let me go live my life, right? And then and then they're right. You get to a point and you look back and you're like, man, why I should have cared about these things. Because, you know, until you get into the workforce and you start making some money, you start thinking, well, hey, what about my taxes? Or what about the cost of living? Or, hey, I want to travel, but man, my job doesn't pay me enough. Or, man, I go to the grocery store and all my paycheck goes to, you know, just groceries, you know, or my insurance, or when I get sick, I've got to figure something out. All of those are issues that young folks are facing right now. And the only way that you can have a say in how your life moves forward and how easy or how hard it's going to be is by showing up and voting.
Yeah.
You got to be informed. You got to care, because it is your life.
And hopefully more young people see this and take the opportunity. You made very, very good points as to why it's important for people to exercise their rights. Rights that people fought for, you know, for everyone to have. And so for you, as in the position that you're in, I'm quite positive that you're going to win.
I hope so.
Your race, right?
I hope so.
I see all the energy you're putting into it, and you are everywhere, man. You know, which is good. You know, sometimes I'm like, hey, man, you sleep. You know, you're putting in the work, which is very, very important. You have to be everywhere. You have to show up.
Yes.
The more you show up, the more people see it. For you, in the Rio Grande Valley, politically, where do you see it in the next 5 to 10 years?
In terms of just this region, where do I see it? Or me personally?
The region.
I honestly, I think that this region is waking up. One thing that I've seen, and I travel this county, right? And I talk to people outside of the valley and I kind of get perspectives on stuff like that. Everybody sees the Rio Grande Valley as kind of a sleeping giant, right? It's a giant that was awake, and it was a big Democratic giant, and then it fell asleep, and now it's like they're waking up. And I think it took a few things. I think it took the national problems that you would only see on the news to start happening in our backyard.
Right.
So now people are feeling it. I mean, I'll be honest, you know, my mom, you know, who's an American citizen, she's, you know, like a second generation American, you know, third generation. Even she's like, well, hey, should I be traveling like with my passport or birth certificate? She's like, I don't want to get lifted up. She's like, I mean, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, if you feel comfortable with that, do it. And then you just kind of start thinking like, I mean, there's nothing stopping us from having these problems. But I see us waking up, and I see us caring, and I see the spotlight continuing to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that within the next 10 years, you're going to see a shift in kind of just the culture down here, hopefully for the better. I think that you're going to see young people getting a lot more involved. Most young people are more progressive in nature.
Yeah.
So I feel that you're going to go from seeing a more conservative Democrat kind of base to now blending a lot more progressive ideas into it as well. And I think that word progressive gets a very bad reputation.
It does.
They almost see you as like a liberal nut, right? But I think that narrative needs to get kind of cleaned up a little bit, because I never considered myself a very big progressive person. And then I start hanging out with a lot of younger Democrats. I'm like, wait a minute, actually, I might be a little bit more progressive than I thought I was, right? And so I think that you're going to see a blend now more progressive leanings down here. I think that you're going to see a lot more engagement. And I think that you're going to see a lot more people wanting to be involved. One thing that I'm very proud of is that every time that we host something for this community, it's always really well attended. People are always full of energy. They get hyped up. And that's really good to see that like we can have a part in giving people that hope to want to come together, to want to be involved and to see the fruits of their labor. That's what I tell people, I'm like, guys, get involved now because the work is long, it's thankless.
Yes.
But when you achieve what you want to achieve, there's no greater feeling to know like, man, all that was for something.
Yeah.
And that's what 2026 is about. That's what 2028 is going to be about. And when we finally pull things back, it's not going to be because of me or you. It's going to be because we all finally said, hey, enough of this stuff, man.
Yeah.
We're going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And so I see this area changing, but in a very good way.
Cool. Okay. So I know that you said, is it because you only have 3 terms as the Hidalgo County chair?
No. It's just, I think that, I stayed for this last term because I wanted to be a part of everything that we've just talked about, a part of this fight, a part of rebuilding the blue wall, helping out as much as I can. I still have some things I'd like to accomplish within this party. But for me, I think it's all I need is one more term to accomplish what I need to. And then I think it's time for someone else. I think it's time for someone else to come in and implement their ideas and hopefully take this party up to the next level.
Are we going to see you go on a...
my future has yet to be written, man. But trust me, this is not the last you'll see of me in the political arena. Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, I'll still be around, trust me.
Okay, that's awesome. And, I know, time is already far spent and we've had really good convo. One of the things I want to talk about is the ICE rates locally down here in the Rio Grande Valley, affecting construction, affecting a lot of the industry. How do we address that? What is the plan? For example, I know that might not be what you're running for again, but as the Hidalgo County Democratic Chair, I'm sure those are things that you see that concerns you.
Look, I understand that this has had a tremendously negative impact on the construction industry. And I applaud them because they're actually mobilizing, standing up and demanding some type of accountability here, which I think is huge. They are a big block of people. What they need to do, don't stop. Continue to be heard, continue to fight this out, make sure that you support your Democrats, get them elected so that way we can get this thing under control. At a local level too, I think, and this is something that I am going to be pushing myself, I'm going to go to our local leaders and say, guys, this is in our backyard. Edinburgh was just raided. Donna was raided. Wesco was raided. It is here. I don't stand for this. I am not going to stand by and think that it's okay for ICE goons to come in, harassing our people down here.
Yeah.
And I want to try to get as many elected officials on board with that idea, issue a joint statement and say, get out of Hidalgo County. You are not welcomed here. We are going to prosecute you. We are going to hold you accountable because you are not going to come in down here and you're not going to come and disrupt our business, harass our people, kidnap our people. We're not going to put up with that shit. Sorry for cussing.
No, you're great. Right. I mean, do you think leaders in Hidalgo County will be able to put together a statement like that?
Look, I'm working on it. I'll tell you that much. And it's in the early phases, but it is a quick moving project. And so we will find out very quickly how the rest of the people feel. But I can tell you right now, I will be the first most vocal person saying, get out of here. You are unwanted. Everything you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah. Good to know.
Yes.
It's one thing that I also really care about, because those are people who are part of the community, right? I've lived here for 10 years, and the entire time I've lived here, I have not experienced anything that made me feel uncomfortable, right? I think this is one of the safest areas to live, right? And so for people to come in to claim that these people who are working every single day, working very hard, are all of a sudden criminals, for me, doesn't make sense.
Look, if ICE was still a legitimate organization, if ICE was training legitimate people, if they were out there doing real law enforcement work, then I'd have no problem with it.
Agreed.
I get it. But when you're basically recruiting every racist scumbag off the streets, giving them a badge and a gun and saying, just go and do whatever you want anyways, where you're not going to be held accountable. That's where the line gets drawn. So I think it's incumbent upon every elected official to take that stand and say, this is not real. This is not the real ICE organization. This is a full-blown Gestapo group of goons that are running around terrorizing people.
Yes.
And it is incumbent upon us to protect the people that we serve. And I just, for me, it's a no-brainer.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this
appreciate you.
information. I have one final question for you.
Sure.
Richard, if someone were to see this or to see you, why should they vote for you to be the Hidalgo County Democratic Chair?
So I will say this. Look at what we've been able to accomplish over the last 4 years. We turned a party that was just kind of there to something that is getting state and national attention. We've been able to double the amount of precinct chairs. We've been able to almost quadruple the amount of volunteer work. We've been able to gain a ton of money and resources from outside areas to help us run infrastructure and projects down here. We've been able to form not only local but statewide partnerships with PACs, with groups, with organizations that now are making Hidalgo County a priority because of the work that we put in and because we have shown that we can deliver the results.
Yeah.
I think when you look into the future, with this being truly the election that's going to tell whether this country is lost or whether we're going to get it back, right now is a time that you need someone who's been there, who's done that, who has a firm plan as to how we're going to win, is ready to implement that plan, and who is able to still bring in all that outside resource
Right.
To the area. And so that is why, and again, I would not be an elected official if I did not ask everybody, please, I would appreciate your vote. Appreciate the support. Early voting does start on February 17th, and election day is March the 3rd. And on my ballot, I'm the very last person. So please don't skip.
Keep going.
Go to the very last page, and my name will be there at the top. And please vote for me. We have a lot of work to do, and I think that if we try to start from scratch right now, we will only be doing this county a disservice.
Yeah. Well, Richard, thank you so much
I appreciate
for
it.
taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're out campaigning to be here, talk to me. It means a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people will be asking, why am I talking about politics on this podcast? I just want you to remember that I never shy away from that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that is very important that we all get behind, and we all have those difficult conversations. We might not all agree on a lot of things, but our humanity still lives. Our humanity lies. And so if you're a believer, if you're a Christian just like me, read the Bible. There's a lot of things that, is happening right now that does not align with what we believe in. And so we always have to keep in mind that the Bible tells us, love your neighbor as yourself and love your God with all your heart. And that's the greatest commandment. And so please keep that in mind. And I hope that this informs you to some degree and pushes you out to vote. So thank you very much for coming. Not for coming. Thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you on the next episode.